Welcome back to Raise Your Voice podcast implemented by Terre des Hommes Italy in Jordan. Thank you so much for being here with us today for the third episode. Today we have a special guest. We have Rana Husseini, a Jordanian journalist and human rights advocate known for her remarkable work in shedding light on critical social issues and advocating for justice and accountability. Thank you so much, Rana, for contributing to our little project today.
Thank you very much, Julia, and thank you for Terre des Hommes Italy for really, supporting such important projects that are aimed at empowering women in our society and raising awareness. I always believe that every project, be it big or small, it's always making an impact and a difference in people's lives. So thank you for making a positive impact on people's lives.
Thank you so much. That's always so nice to hear. So I will start with our questions for today. So my first question is about your career in the past. So I want to ask you if you had to think back to the beginning of your career, what would be the moment you realized that your voice could make a difference?
I could say, I started, I was assigned as a crime reporter in the Jordan Times in September '93. And, when I was studying in the US, I said I want to do something for women in Jordan, but I didn't know what it was. So but I said, whatever they assign me, I will take it.
Okay. Yes.
So, and I said, when they assigned me as a crime reporter, I said, okay, I'll find my way. But actually, the topic found me in May of 1994, like maybe 6 or 8 months into my career, when I started reporting about so-called honor killings.
Yes.
In the beginning, people were like, what are you doing? You're wasting your time. You write in the Jordan Times, it's English. But I said, no, I had to register somewhere that there are women who are killed and no one is talking about them. At that time, really, the Arabic press didn't care or didn't want to, or it felt it was taboo. It was, for them, it was a family issue. The society was not aware or ready. So I started reporting. I said, somebody will hear me. So I would say the turning point for me was when we started receiving letters to the editor, because I was reporting each and every case I heard about. And then I started going to courts, and I also discovered that men who would kill their female relatives back then for family honor would get 3 months, 6 months. That was in the past. So I said, I have to report all this.
Yeah.
So we started receiving letters to the editor, and it was at that time, now we're talking social media. For you, what is a letter to the editor? But back then it was something big to start seeing people really writing letters asking the government to do something. And it was daring back then, people didn't, shall I write a letter, So I felt that this was one of the turning points, was like the reaction of our readers. I started meeting people by, like researchers, diplomats, officials, and they all started to talk to me about the stories and the need to do something. So this was one of the first turning points in my life. The second was that I was nominated in '98 for the Reebok Human Rights Award, and it was for my reporting. And I won the award.
Mashallah.
I was one of 4 in the world back then. It was given to 30 years or younger, and I was 30.
Wow.
So when I went to receive the award, I discovered that I was also a human rights activist. And basically this award really was a turning point in my career. And, I became more encouraged, not because of the award per se, but the fact that, I felt that I was making a difference. I started to have researchers, students, diplomats, officials. Everyone started to come and talk to me, or I would go and ask me to go and lecture about it.
Yes.
So I felt that, there was an interest in the society. And back then, I think it was a good time really to talk about such issues and human rights issues in Jordan.
Yes, that's very, very motivating. And the topic of that you started with honor killings is so important
So-called
still
honor
today
killings.
in 2026, and not only in Jordan, as we were saying before, even in Italy, for example. We were saying that we still have them, and they're very, very misunderstood by the law, I think, sometimes. At least in Italy, in Italy we have this habit of saying that the husband or the boyfriend, whatever, had a raptus.
Yes,
so
yes,
he couldn't
yes.
control himself.
Yeah,
But
crime of passion. Crime,
there's no such thing as a raptus or
Yeah.
anyway. So that's very interesting, and it's very important work. So I want to ask you, in the course of your career, did you ever hesitate to speak up? And if yes, what helped you overcome that in those difficult times, if any?
No, I was never hesitant, to be honest, because I felt I was making a difference.
Yeah.
And I was, my voice and the support from the Jordan Times, of course, starting with the editors, most of the editors and my colleagues, most of them, there was a lot of support. So I felt, and there was a reaction from readers, from people, from...
You had
so
a
people,
feedback.
yeah, I had a positive feedback. So people started to react. I had some hostile comments. I had some people who were not happy with my work, especially when they started the internet. We started to have chat rooms in the beginning. It wasn't social media. So some people would like, what are you doing? Stop writing about this, blah, blah, blah. But I never hesitated 1 minute because I felt that I was making a difference. I was the voice of these women who could not say, they had their lives robbed from them, and I felt that I was their voice. I was making a difference. And after that, a group of young men and women approached me and said, let's do something on the grassroots level. So we started so there was a movement, and the women's movement also started working. Everyone at one point in Jordan started to talk about this issue, starting from the royal family to normal people in the street. So this was very important that we were able to, push this topic to the surface and make it a priority, because, back then it was either, what are you doing? You're wasting your time. Nothing ever changes in this country. Or, you're talking about these women. They're mostly bad women for them, of course. They didn't consider them as a life or something to be cherished. For me, regardless, of course, of what they did, they shouldn't be killed.
Of course, yes.
Everyone has the right to live. And, if there's any violations of the law, then the law should take its course and not individuals to take the lives of these women, mostly women, of course.
Yeah.
So for me, there was no hesitation at all until this day.
That's great to hear. Yeah. And it's great to hear that even when you received those comments that try to discourage you, tell you, judge you, why are you talking about these topics? You didn't let them touch you, that's great to hear.
Because to tell you the truth, if you want to hear everything that people say, then you will stay at home.
Yeah, you will stay at home.
You stay at home, do nothing.
Yes, you will stay, you will be petrified. Yes. So, what does raising your voice mean to you today, after all of these years of experience?
I think raising my voice, a voice or my voice?
Your voice, and then we can.
I think raising my voice and the voice of other, it became a collective effort. It started with me, and then it became the whole country. Not everyone, of course, but I mean, it's very important always to raise your voice and say no to anything that you find that is unjust. If you can help people, I know I helped a lot of women. Directly and indirectly, and this is a very, very important achievement for me in my life, to be able to save lives or help women who are in need, by referring them to the concerned authorities or NGOs. So for me, it's important to always talk about these issues. Your program is very important. Anything that talks about violence against women, I think, in my opinion, is very important. Any person, any radio, any program, any activity, because violence against women is a global issue.
Yes.
And, 1 in 3 women will be subjected to some form of violence in her life. So I think we always have to talk about it. We always have to alert women whose lives are in danger or are being abused that there is help somewhere. And that they shouldn't lose hope.
They're not alone.
They're not alone, yes.
Many people that have had their same experiences. Yes, this is a very important message to spread, yes.
Exactly.
So, on this line of conversation, I want to ask you as well, In your opinion, what are the biggest barriers women still face today when trying to be heard?
I think until this day there are women who think they are alone, or they think if they took a step that it could ruin their lives or put them in danger. So I think that's the barrier. Sometimes they don't have the means to know what's out there to help them safely, of course.
Yes.
Because the NGOs and even now we have the police, they have the family protection department. Yes. They all deal with these cases in a very discreet manner, and their aim is not to destroy families or put subjects under threat or to put their lives in danger, but so I think these are the main things. Now we have social media.
Yeah.
It could help a bit, but all in all, for me, I think this is what women, they're afraid sometimes to take a step. Especially in our part of the world, it's a shame for a girl. For example, if a woman is married and then she's being harassed or abused by her husband, many of them are afraid, to take a step or try to find help, either because they think they might be hurt, or if they have children, they want to protect their children.
Yes.
Teenage girls still do not, they use social media. I've covered many cases of girls who, left their houses because somebody tricked them. Oh, come. They start a relationship with them. They find them. Sometimes they are killed and sometimes they are put in protective custody. So yeah, I mean, that's why I say it's important to have always these programs to talk about such issues.
Yes, and also in many cases, unfortunately, also I know there are a lot of women and girls that don't speak about it because they are afraid to be blamed. This happens.
That's of course,
a lot,
yeah,
yes.
of course, yeah. For sure, this is a very important point. That's why I said, they're afraid to be abused because, of course, they will be blamed. They will, they think that they're doing something wrong, and
yeah. So,
or they don't know their legal rights.
Yes, true. Because I also wanted to say, what you were saying, that awareness in these cases is so important, to spread awareness, to sensibilize, I think in English, yes. I don't know, people, yes, and this I think is the first step to have some change. So mentioning one of your books, Years of Struggle, the Women's Movement in Jordan, I want to ask you, what do you think were the most powerful strategies women activists used to achieve change?
This is the second of the 3 books I wrote so far. Actually, it's very difficult to answer you because there are many strategies, and I divided the book into decades. So yes. In the 40s, it was more charitable. In the 50s, it was more political. And, they used, I think I always say the golden era is the 50s. And I would say, the last 20 years also are very important. But, every time has its own. Like in the 50s, it was more organized. It was political. Men and women were part of any movement in Jordan, sort of. Not all the political parties, but some parties in general. In the 60s, everybody was busy with the war and helping the refugees and so forth. Yes. The 70s, we had the UN Women, first Women International Women's meeting. This was very important. This is where they started to push for rights, and they got the right to vote, for example, and run for elections. So they used that when to push their agenda through the UN conference. Yeah. And then they started to move again. Then in the 80s, based on the academics, it became the time of the NGOization, whereby they started the NGOs. The 90s saw a lot of activities, with so-called honor killings, violence against women, many rights. They started to demand more rights. The 2000s, they started to see some gains happening. Women, there was a quota for women in the parliament. A lot of things have changed back then. They started to appoint women in the government, appoint women in the municipalities in the 90s. This was very important to see, for people to see that there are women serving in the municipalities, and this was a strategy by Her Royal Highness Princess Basma for people to get accustomed to seeing women serving in the office, and this helped for later on in the parliament and so forth. In the beginning, it wasn't a very nice experience, but later on, it paid off. So then we had women appointed in various areas. There were women started to assume jobs. Like pilots, we only had one. Now we have many pilots. Women police in the street. Ministers. You had a woman who was appointed in the prime ministry in the legislative bureau. This is a very important place. We have women now in the judiciary, judges. They increased a lot. There are women who are prosecutors. They haven't gone like to real crimes, but they are there. Sometimes they do. So you have women, they're trying to push women in all fields of life. At the same time, the women's groups are also working hard on various levels, economic empowerment for women, changing laws, demanding more rights. There's always movements happening, strategies being written by for example, the Jordanian National Commission for Women. They always prepare strategies for women. Starting in the 2000s, Her Majesty Queen Rania chaired an important meeting whereby they talked about family violence and so forth. And a lot of things changed. There was a lot of entities that was created to address that. And by time, some laws changed. One of them is the so-called honor crimes, whereby killers now get minimum of 7.5 years to life instead of the 3 or 6 months.
It's a big difference,
They opened shelters for women. They opened a safe house for women whose lives are in danger. So the Family Protection Department was a unit. Now it's in every governorate in the country. So there are many things, there are many other things that maybe now I don't remember. But really, I would say the last 20 or 25 years, a lot of things were going forward in Jordan in terms of addressing the issue. One important thing is that in the 90s, the government started to acknowledge we have a problem. After we started our movement as individuals and groups. Before that, the government, would say, we don't have this issue of so-called honor crimes. It's not important. We don't have violence against women. We don't have child molestation. But then afterwards, things changed and the government acknowledged. And this was one of the most important things for me, is that when the government acknowledges there's a problem, then it becomes their duty to solve the problem.
To do something
And they did a lot. And this was very important because you can't only depend on NGOs.
Sure.
Some things, for example, the shelters, the safe house, the protection unit. There are certain places that you have to have, for example, police presence or security, or, you have to have experts, you have to have professional individuals working there, or experts, forensic experts, psychologists.
Yes.
So, now we have a very advanced, I would say, service for abused women and children in Jordan.
Yes, I also think it's so documenting all of these progresses that happened in the past decades is also so important, just to give hope, to who is interested in these topics, that even if maybe we don't realize it because the change is spread across a long time, but it actually happens. I think it's inspiring to who is interested in these topics. So I want to end the conversation on a good line.
Positive note.
It's all positive, of course, but my most positive question, it will be our last for today. So what gives you hope today when you think about the future of women's voices in Jordan and in the Middle East?
Well, what gives me hope is that when I started to report about these issues, especially violence against women, so-called honor crimes, the amount of resistance we faced back then, the amount of accusation, backlash, I felt that nothing will ever change. Nothing will ever change during my lifetime. I thought things will change maybe after I die, because really it was sometimes it was impossible. I felt it was impossible. But no, a lot of things changed. As I said, we had the judiciary, we had even the way they investigate the cases now. Maybe since the mid-2000s, it wasn't no longer a woman being killed. They started to investigate all these murders thoroughly. They were interested. They brought strong cases to the court, and that's how also killers would not get away with lenient sentences.
Yeah.
So it's they built shelters, they built a safe house. The government is always doing something. There is involvement by everyone, decision makers, leaders. There's involvement in this topic, and it became something important. So this always gives me hope. Of course, there are things still that needs to be done, as always, as in every country. But the fact that we were able to change the attitudes of people also, this is very important, because now when I read comments from people, there are people who still blame women, of course, for anything, but
there will always be.
There will always be. It will never change. But there are, many people now, like if a woman is killed for reasons related to family honor, now, like when I read comments, I always try to read comments. Oh, may her mercy on her soul, God. In the past, it used to be, oh, she deserves it. But now most people are like, no, it's but you have sometimes issues that are not. You have cases whereby sometimes they blame women, and you cannot end that.
Yes, I do think that one thing that for sure we need to work more in. I think it's man engagement. To engage men in this kind of topics and to give more awareness, especially on the male side of the earth. But
I always say it's important to put hands and work with men and not consider them as like the source of problems, because I think, as you said, it's raising awareness. It's empowering both men and women. If you empower both men and women, I always say it starts with education.
Yeah,
our education system is still not the best. When they work on the education system, they and include the topics that talks about human rights, dignity, equality, and all of that, and address it properly in the schools, then we will see more involvement of men. Now, like when I started, really there wasn't many men interested in this topic.
Yeah.
Or like when I go and lecture, very few men would attend, if any. But now you see, there is a big change in all that as well, and that's something also we succeeded in changing, which is changing the attitudes of people towards accepting violence against women. And now there is more men and women who are rejecting violence against, or gender-based violence, let's say. So this is important, and this always gives us hope to keep going.
Yes, it gives us a lot of hope. So we have, I think our time has ended for today. But it was a truly inspiring conversation, and I thank you so much, Rana, again for being here and for giving us all of this information and hope for your work, of course.
Thank you, Julia, and thanks again for Terre des Hommes, Italy, for supporting such important initiatives.